Well, hello and welcome to Room 442, the inaugural Room 442. A ton of content on all our channels on this day. I'm James Sharman, he's Albert Vartanian, and what a weekend, Albert. It was. The domestic leagues, they wrapped up across Europe. In England, Man City, of course, crowned champions. The bookies got it right. They were the favourites entering this season. It was up and down for a while there, had a big lead. Back came Liverpool, and even to the final day, down 2-0 to Aston Villa, it could have changed. But they found that mettle, that self-belief, and it seemed to me a really fitting way to close the season because it was up and down between those two teams throughout the campaign.
Yeah, and there was a lot of comparisons to the Aguero moment, but it wasn't close to that. But
No.
there was a lot of drama that was there. And I mentioned this to you off air. When they were down 2-0, I never discounted Manchester City. What was it, 15 minutes left in the second half, and they come back and score 3 goals. And, those substitutions by Pep Guardiola absolutely helped the team. And that's, one player who's leaving, and Ilkay Gundogan. And these are the type of players that Man City have who are game changers, and they will continue to have game changers coming in with Erling Haaland coming in next season.
Yeah, they call it the most dangerous lead in sports, 2-0,
Yeah.
right? And that's why, and I'm with you. I was actually focusing on the Liverpool game to start with. I was going back and forth, of course,
Yeah.
but you have to kind of pick your poison. But yeah, seeing the out of town scoreboard and seeing the 2-0 City, I thought, well, good for Villa, putting a real fight up. But I still believe that they'd find a way to get back.
Yeah.
And they did just that twice in the week, right? They were down 2-0 to West Ham as well earlier in the week, and that came back to a 2-2
Is
draw.
there any other team that can do this? I don't think so.
Maybe Liverpool.
Maybe Liverpool.
Right,
Yeah,
maybe.
they've done it. Yeah, they have done it.
But City are champions 4 and 5 years, right? They haven't done it in Europe just yet, but they have that inner belief, they have that swagger, that confidence. They're never to be counted out.
No.
And it makes them just brilliant. I mean, I fully admit I'm a Liverpool fan, right? But I have to just bow in the magnificence
Oh my
of
God.
Pep Guardiola's Man City. Not just the results and the championships, but the way they play the game.
Yeah.
They've transformed English football.
Yeah, and they could have taken a huge dip after the Champions League defeat to Real Madrid, but they didn't. It's like they just flip a switch, and now they're back on, and they go and win the Premier League. And it's kind of sad in a way because there's no other team in the league where you're like, well, they won the Premier League again. That's Manchester City. If it's Liverpool, if it's Chelsea, if it's United, whenever that happens, Arsenal, Spurs, it'll be a big, big moment. But for City, it's kind of like, well, they're supposed to do it. And in a way, it's sad because I don't think they get the appreciation they actually truly deserve.
They're a dynasty.
They
Simple
totally
as
are.
that. Just like United was.
4 and 5.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So why is that? Why are they not? I mean, maybe listen, the fans that love them, right? But there's something about those Fergie Uniteds.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had that edge to them, perhaps. Unless you were a fan of the team, Fergie wasn't that likable. He kind of was bigger than the sport, whereas Pep's really likable. The players are all likable. I think they need that jerk,
Yeah.
or a couple of jerks. Maybe
Too
that's what
likable.
it is.
The rivalry between City and Liverpool is a bit,
It is.
huggy, kiss.
It is, yeah. I spoke to that with Theo today, talking about Liverpool, and check it out on YouTube. You'll see that one. But it's just that in the old days, the previous rivalries, there was that hatred between United and Arsenal, or Arsenal and Chelsea. It's Ferguson, it's Mourinho, it's Wenger. Whereas Klopp and Pep love each other, such respect there. It's nice. It's the way sport probably should be, but kind of want more.
Want some more, but the
needle,
players
right?
had a different mentality. We always hear about Rio Ferdinand and Gary Neville and Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira. These players talk of how they are in the tunnel, not even wanting to have a conversation with the person next to them, whether they were teammates or not. And I think that's just gone at the moment. And it's just there's a lot of camaraderie, which is good, but. No, you need something.
I don't want to see hugging before the whistle. You want to hug after the whistle,
there's a lot of
fine.
that.
There's a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's like the NBA for crying out loud, right? It's too much now. Don't be enemies for those 90 minutes.
Absolutely.
Afterwards,
I'm with
whatever,
you.
that's fine. But in that, the old Vieira and Roy Keane, I mean, legendary.
Is there anything close to that in Premier League right now in terms of a rivalry that can match?
Well,
Arsenal, Spurs,
maybe a little bit.
even then.
I don't think there is.
I saw a little bit between Brentford and Leeds. Because there is a bit of a rivalry there based on what happened in the Championship.
Yeah.
But
it's not geographic. The fans don't really care so
No,
much.
it's
I think we need more hate in the Premier League. That's what we're saying.
A little bit.
It's just too nicey nice right now.
Bring hate to the Premier League.
Speaking of the North London rivalry there, Arsenal and Spurs. Spurs found a way in the end.
Yes.
And I was so happy to see Sonny your boy there getting the golden boot along with Mo Salah, the most likable, speaking of likable players, the most
Both of
likable
them.
player,
Yeah.
and maybe Salah too,
Yeah.
but in the Premier League right now, Heung-min Son, wonderful accomplishment. And I give Spurs a lot of credit. What does this now mean for Spurs? Because I'm sitting beside you by our desks today, and you're saying, wow, we're being linked with this player and this player. And they're saying, yeah, well, get used to it now. It's Champions League football, right? And Conte's there. He'll draw players in. But it does mean that it's going to be a really important window.
Yeah, I think Daniel Levy realizes he missed an opportunity after the 2019 Champions League final. They made the final when they shouldn't have been there. He didn't back Pochettino, and we saw what happened. Mourinho comes in, he gets sacked. Ryan Mason comes in, then Nuno Espirito Santo. Remember him?
Ryan Mason, I forgot about Mason.
Yeah,
too,
and he took over. So I think now this is a real opportunity. I think getting in fourth is huge. They just need to back Conte, and it looks like it's happening because the board, ENIC, the owners of the team, have come out and injected 150 million pounds into the team, which is great. I mean, in terms of bringing players in through the transfer market. But it looks like it's going to happen. I think Spurs need to do it. I think heading into next season, if you look at the teams around Spurs, Arsenal are still in a transitional period, and they're going to have Europa League football, which is difficult to deal with. We saw West Ham had a great season, but kind of faded out near the end. That can happen to Arsenal. Manchester United, transitional period in Europa League as well. When it comes to Chelsea, who knows? I'm sure there'll still be a top 3, top 4 team.
I would think so, yeah.
So I think Spurs have an opportunity to leapfrog United and Arsenal. And if you get backing in the transfer window, you can see what really happens. And I think that was a game changer for Spurs this year, because in January, Arsenal didn't spend, Spurs did, and that seemed to make the huge difference.
Yeah,
obviously with Conte as
key
well.
signings, weren't they? Yeah. Now that 150 though, is that out of their own pocket, or is that with future Champions League earnings?
It sounds that way. It sounds like it's right out of their own pocket.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that plus potential,
which never happens. You ever hear that from Spurs?
Not for Spurs, no. I mean, Daniel Levy is the master negotiator, not the most free to spend money on that team, but opportunities there, right? I mean, Chelsea, who knows with them, the new owner there, of course, what that means moving forward. There could be an opportunity to fight for third place. I just don't see right now anyone competing for first and second.
I don't.
For a couple of years.
But Ten Hag, did you see his interview?
Yeah, of course I did.
Eras need to come to an end.
Yeah,
he's saying all the right things.
He is.
He's right. He's right. I just think this era is going to last a long time.
I just think you can't expect much from one window. You can expect a change, perhaps, but to change the entire culture of United, which is what he needs to do, and he admits it's going to take some time. He says he wants Ronaldo back, though, and he'll be key.
He'd be crazy
we'll
not
see
to,
about that. Would he? Why?
One of the best goal scorers
37
in the world, but he's still scoring goals.
Yeah, and the team
without Ronaldo, did they finish in the Europa League spot?
Well, without him, last year they finished second.
This is true,
right?
Yeah, it's hard.
It's a really weird one, and I'm not criticizing Ronaldo. I may in the past have been guilty of criticizing Ronaldo, but I'm not. I mean, what more could the guy have done personally? That's what we knew he'd do. He'd score goals, but was the team better for it? No, they weren't. But of course, they also lost Mason Greenwood most of the season for legal issues. Right? It's not even. It's completely just pushed under the rug.
Yeah,
really unsavory situation there, obviously, to put it mildly.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think Ten Hag's the right thing. He's coming across pretty well at the moment.
And Ten Hag plays that 4-3-3 system.
Yeah.
Likes to have the big striker in the middle. I think this season he had Sebastian Haller, who at one point was leading the Champions League in goals. So now maybe if you can slot Ronaldo into there, and there's something there.
Well,
I think there's something
you were
there.
saying earlier that John Davis' name's being mentioned now with United.
Yeah.
And for Canadian soccer, that'd be huge.
That's a double-edged sword, I think, though.
It is.
Right? It's great that a Canadian player gets to play for Manchester United. We were talking about, name Canadian players that have played for the Big Six, and there's not many.
No.
Right?
No.
We
said Stalteri was at Spurs for a bit.
Yeah. We had Daniil Henry at West Ham.
Are they Big Six?
West
Ham?
West Ham? Yeah, just out maybe. Maybe just out.
They're still a big club.
Yeah.
Good club. This year they're big.
Craig Forrest, you mentioned, was at Chelsea, which I had no idea.
And of course West Ham for years,
Ham,
right? And I mean, they were top 6 there, finished 5th with Craig, I think, at some point. Ipswich were, of course, a huge club as well. But in the modern era, sorry, Craig, to age you there, but in the modern era, there hasn't been very many Canadians playing in the Premier League full stop, right?
Yeah.
Rosinsky was there, obviously, with Everton.
And if Ronaldo stays and David comes in, he's going to be behind him in the pecking order. Maybe he gets a lot of Europa League time.
Yeah, and we see big players taking the step too soon sometimes.
I know.
And I wonder if that would be too soon for him. I want to see him play every single week. If Ronaldo's staying for a year, then whoever's coming in, unless the name's Mbappe or someone else, they're not going to be playing ahead of Ronaldo, I don't think. It'd be fascinating. We'll talk about it in the coming weeks and months. In the end, Leeds stayed up. Jesse Marsch on his back at the final whistle. He couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Burnley go down. And the owners are backing at the moment Jesse
Yeah,
Marsch.
they should.
I guess they can now say it was the right hire.
Yeah.
He was brought in to survive, and survive we did.
And they're going to get a lot of money. It looks like Calvin Phillips, which is actually a huge loss for Leeds. We saw what happened when he wasn't in the lineup all season.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why they were down there. And so they're going to get an influx of money probably from him. I don't think he'll stay, James, Calvin Phillips.
I can't imagine it.
Right?
No.
He's
I think,
linked with City,
all
linked
depends
with
on the health.
Liverpool.
Depends on the health.
Yeah.
Right? How healthy is he? Because he's a top 4 player. That's how good he is.
Well, how good was he at the Euros, right?
Incredible. Was the best player for England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have him, and then Rafinha.
He's gone.
He's probably gone. So you're maybe getting, I don't know, 150 plus for 2 players,
Yep.
potentially. And you could do a lot with that, especially when you're a team that was just battling relegation. And now I think that's enough money to bring in for Marsch to, bring in the players that he wants for his philosophy, his system.
Yep.
And I could see Leeds finishing mid-table if they get the signings right.
I hope so, because I like Jesse Marsch. I think he's good for the league, quite frankly. He's
Yeah.
good for North American soccer as well,
Yeah.
getting credibility.
He took a lot of shit.
He took a lot of shit, absolutely. And unfairly, simply because he was American,
Yeah.
right? Simple as that. Bielsa, the greatest,
The God.
the god, whose team was going to be relegated, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Not to criticize Bielsa, but we should take a bit of a breath there. Didn't get the job done. In he comes, the new guy, the American, Ted Lasso, and he gets criticized,
Yeah.
right? It's so unfair.
Well,
So-
Chris Armas was getting the same thing, and he was just an
He was.
assistant at Manchester United. The
I
guy didn't
know.
even say a word.
Well, again, and nothing against Chris Armas, but I mean, kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
a weird hire, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a
A
weird
guy with
hire.
no experience at
The
all.
whole Ranić, it's the United had a weird
They
system.
called him Specs behind his back. That's when the reports coming at the players called him Specs. No respect for him, which is comment on the players, not on
Yeah,
Ranić.
of course.
I mentioned before Kylian Mbappe's name, and he kind of stole the headlines this
Yeah, he
weekend
did.
on Saturday. Staying at PSG, it turns out, not going to Real Madrid. We thought he was going there for sure. Everyone thought it. I think at one point he thought he was going there.
I love that we had a whole chat based on him going to Real Madrid and what's going to happen, what he's going to do.
What will happen in Domino's, and yeah, here it is. Because he's a proud Frenchman and loves this project and this club. It's
Yeah,
not
sure
to do
he
with
does.
€1 million a week at all.
No,
Disappointing, isn't it?
it really is.
I'm kind of really left like meh, staying in the weekend league.
Yeah.
He'll dominate again for 3 more years.
But PSG, they still need that Champions League, right? They're going to dominate in France. I think he took home obviously the title, top scorer, top assists. So he's going to dominate in that league once again. It all comes down to the Champions League. But what I don't understand here, he's so young, 23.
Yep.
And it looks like, according to reports, that PSG they've given him the keys to the club, which means he has a say on the manager. He has a say on the sporting director, Leonardo. The sporting director has been sacked. And he has a say on players coming in and out. This sounds like the LeBron James situation in the NBA. But it's a big difference between LeBron James, who is a proven veteran, one of the best players of all time, to a 23-year-old who hasn't really done anything yet.
When I was 23, I shouldn't have been given the keys to my car, let alone the club.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Just focus on your football.
Yeah,
Why put that pressure on him? And if he's asking for that pressure, he's getting bad advice.
Right.
At this point in his career, he can be the best player in world football if he can focus on football. If he's worrying about executive hires and transfer policy, that's not fair. I mean, let's not be naive. All top players, they might have a little chat with the gaffer
Absolutely.
about who's coming in, the direction. I get that, but not to this point, to this capacity.
Yeah.
I think it stinks, quite frankly. I'm not too upset that Real Madrid are the victims because they've done the exact same thing to numerous clubs over the years. But yeah, it leaves a real sour taste in my mouth. He's got 3 years there. He'll be 26. He'll be in his prime. He can go to Real Madrid then, I
Yeah.
suppose.
There's a lot of focus outside of the football, which
Yeah, too
concerns me.
much.
He's talking about the 2024 Olympics. Apparently, the president of France was on the phone with him. At one point, he was in Real Madrid, and his mom was in France talking to the PSG team. It was just very confusing what's going on. It doesn't sound like he has the right people around him.
No.
Who knows? This can all work out, which I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they win the Champions League,
Right.
which is quite possible,
PSG, they
given
have
that
a
team,
bottomless pit of money,
Yeah,
so they can
yeah.
do whatever they want, really.
it might work out, I suppose. But I wish these guys, for once, would just come out and say, I went there because they were going to give me the world a lot more. Just come out and say it.
What did you think about his press conference where he was talking about how he was linked with Real and he was thanking Real and how he was linked with Liverpool and he was thanking Liverpool? I didn't like that.
No, I know.
I feel like just talk about what happened, what's going on, what
yeah,
you're going to do moving
I'm
forward.
a PSG player now.
Yeah,
So
I'm all about players being honest, and I can understand sometimes the media or fans can jump on players for being too honest when we want them to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think here it didn't need to be said. It was almost like, hey, I know you guys are there, and maybe when
Yeah.
this contract ends, I'm going to come
Well,
around.
you wonder if Florentino Perez is watching that. I'm sure he was. What he's thinking, because he thought he had him signed. He had a great relationship with him. Phone calls, meetings
Yeah.
in Madrid, and then to find out through text, I'm actually staying.
Yeah.
I'm staying where I'm at.
And La Liga, they're looking for that next star to come in, right?
It's
No
been a bad
Ronaldo,
few
no
years.
Messi, right?
It has, yeah. Haaland's gone to Man City now.
Yeah.
So that actually, the fact that Mbappe's staying at PSG makes it really interesting as far as the Mo Salahs, the Sadio Manes, the Harry Kanes, dare I say.
Yeah.
You know, the top forwards in world football now are now all thinking, there might be an opportunity at Real Madrid now.
Absolutely.
That could change a lot. So I think we're going to be sitting in these chairs in the next few months with a different rumor each day.
Yeah.
Mainly around Spurs,
Yeah,
probably,
absolutely.
because there's so many of them.
But the place to be is the Premier League.
It seems that
Right?
way. It is, yeah, it is.
But there's not many spots left for true football stars at the moment because they're all pretty much taken. If you go across, Manchester City, okay, Holland's going in there, so no Mbappe or whoever else. You look at Manchester United, okay, Ronaldo, they can probably get somebody else there. Spurs, they still have Kane and Son, Chelsea, Lukaku, and everybody else. So a lot of these players are going to have to find different destinations, and maybe one of those destinations is Real Madrid.
It might be digging up some lesser-known players.
Barcelona as well.
Yeah, exactly. Sharman going to be going to Real Madrid, who most people haven't heard of, but they're going to.
Real has a lot of money laying around right now.
A lot of money waiting to be spent, and they got to spend it.
Yeah.
Perez he's burning a hole in his pocket. He's got to spend it on someone.
It's true.
Yeah, there might be some average players out there thinking, I could really take advantage of this situation.
Yeah. It looks like they're trying to go towards younger players.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Camavinga, they wanted to bring in Mbappe, they have Vinicius, Rodrigo.
They're a young team, yeah.
They're a very young team. I mean, in the middle of the field, a bit older in terms of Kroos and Modric, but those guys are going to be moving on soon. But I think you still need that with the young players as well. You need, I mean, if you can have the balance of a young player with experience,
ideal.
That's hard to find.
Yeah, very hard to find.
Right.
Yeah,
so you might have to splash on some wily old veterans, James.
Not called Salah or Mane, hopefully. But
no.
It's quite possible one of those guys could be on the way, I think.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens. But that's it for a chat. Room 442. Stay locked on to the Parlay accounts. I will be having content coming out daily between me, James, and Sarah Pararia. Thanks for watching.